Good afternoon, everyone, and first of all, thanks to everyone for coming and joining in this momentous and joyous occasion where we are going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the McCullen-Kerr Arkansas River Navigation System, better known as the MKARNS. So this is kind of a year-long celebration, but we wanted to formally kick it off in a way that brought attention to the rivers and the navigation system that we all have come to just know and love, and what an impact it has on our state. I think I know most of the folks in the room, but for those who I don't know, I'm Mike Preston. I'm the Secretary of Commerce and Executive Director of the Economic Development Commission, and I'll play host as your MC today to introduce some other dignitaries who are here to share a few words, and then introduce a few others in the room who are all a big part of what happens and takes place in this river. And it is a community effort, a state effort to make this river happen and to reap the benefits from it, but then also to keep it going and to make sure that the businesses thrive that are along it, as well as the recreational opportunities. Personally, when before I moved to Arkansas from Florida, a friend of mine who'd spent time in Arkansas advised me that I should read the book Rising Tide by John Barry, and it would give a good flavor of the history of the rivers and what they mean to the states and the heart of our country. And it was good advice because I kind of got a background there about the histories of the rivers and the levees and how it all came to be. But then as I began to know and tour around the state, I saw what just an impact it had, and it was no coincidence that some of our best industrial sites that we had around the state happened to be along the river, a very close proximity to the river. So the more I was in the state, the more I learned and understood it. And then as the governor appointed me Secretary of Commerce in 2019, after we went through the government transformation, it made all the sense in the world to bring under one umbrella economic development and our Waterways Commission, because they do go hand in hand. And when we moved our teams down here to this building, I now get to see day in and day out behind me on this river the amount of traffic that we actually do see on the river. And when you see it firsthand, you understand the impact that it has. And then when you go to quantify it, an $8.5 billion economic impact every year, we certainly see it. And then we also see it when the rivers have to be shut down for various reasons, whether it be the flooding or the incident that happened in West Memphis with the bridge and the barge not being able to go under. But it's a $2 million per day loss when we're not able to utilize our river system. So I can't stress the importance of what that means to our economy, but then also on the recreational side and how important that is for recreation and people to be able to use it as they see and build upon the quality of life that we have in Arkansas here today. So with that, I want to get right into our guest speakers, and first up is we're delighted to have join us Colonel Eric Noe, who is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Little Rock District Colonel. He has got an extremely long bio here that I won't go through the entire thing.
Please don't.
But I just say that Colonel Noe has assumed the duties as District Engineer and Commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Little Rock District Office July 9th, 2019. So right after a historic flood, he came in at an opportune time that we've really appreciated his leadership. But he came to Little Rock from the National Military Command Center in Washington, D.C., where he served on the Joint Staff as a Deputy Director of Operations and Presidential Strike Advisor. Colonel Noe received his commission from the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York in 1996 with a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering. And it goes on from there, and as I said, we could spend the next 30 minutes talking about the great accomplishments he had. But with that, Colonel, I'll turn it over to you for some remarks.
So what a lot of folks don't know is, Noe is Belgian French for Noah, and they sent me here during a flood. I'm like, and the governor may remember, but 2 hours after I had taken the colors and assumed command, I was sitting, a lot closer than this to the governor, trying to explain the flood of 2019 and how our reservoir system in Oklahoma did a great job in terms of reducing the flow and the impact, but of course not entirely to the point where we didn't have some homes that were flooded and some levees that were challenged. And we were very thankful that we had great partnership from the state then and continuing forward to today. And there's a lot of things that I would kind of highlight, and I don't, hopefully not too redundant as we go through. But when we think about the past, the present, and the future, it's important that we remember the leadership and the teamwork. And there's a lot of people in this room, from industry, from the public, and of course our elected leaders who are dedicated to making sure that we're successful on the MKARNS And we can't do our jobs without you and without understanding of what the challenges are and how we're going to have to overcome those challenges going forward. And so I'm going to highlight a couple of those things as we go through here. Hopefully it won't bore you to death. I promise, I think my awards might be a little bit shorter than this, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure I go through a couple of great points that I think we all share in our passion for the system. And of course, we're celebrating 50 years, and it was a big thing we need to highlight because of the importance of what the river has given us in this wonderful state. It began to, more than 2 decades before President Nixon made its dedication. It took us 15 years to construct it, which today, the governor would probably be the first one to say, you can build something in less than 15 years or around 15 years, that's great. Well, with probably a few less NEPA requirements back in those days and a lot less building restrictions or federal acquisition rules in place. But at the end of the day, it's still pretty impressive for what they had in terms of science and technology to put the system in place and let it become something that we could leverage to our advantage. A lot of folks don't know, Arkansas, if it wasn't for the locks and dams, it's not navigable year-round. Because of the locks and dams, it is navigable year-round. And it navigates 365 days a year, or 366 in a leap year. So as a requirement, for us, that's hard work. We got folks that have been doing it for 50+ years. In some places on our locks and dams, pushing traffic through every single day. And they've been doing that ever since its inception. And to the Secretary's point, when we close a lock, it shuts down the system and has a tremendous effect. They're all single chamber locks, so the 18 locks, 5 of them are in Tulsa District, 13 are in Little Rock District. So when we stop a lock to do any type of maintenance, then that has an effect you can imagine across the system and industry, and it's just painful for us as well. We don't get an off season. We don't get a minute to break down and say, all right, let's go fix it because it's winter and it's frozen solid. We don't get that advantage here. But that's great for industry. So obviously it came from the 1946 Rivers and Harbors Act, and a 9-foot navigation channel was argued then, and I think now we're up to 12-foot. We were authorized 12-foot back in the day, but we got to 9. And I think we're seeing a lot of momentum to get to 12-foot channels, so that's great. And the cost to complete it was $1.39 billion. So $1.39 billion is a lot of money, of course, back then. But when you think about it, it has generated billions more dollars since and has more than paid back the federal tax payment cost associated with the build, as well as what it has done for our communities, what it has done for our social networks, our tax revenue, and the ability to take care of our own communities. And of course, we continue to enjoy a lot of the other benefits as well. But today, we're talking about a 12-state region that's now impacted. As far north as Montana and Idaho and North Dakota benefit from the MKARNS. 800,000 jobs directly or indirectly affected. That's pretty impressive when you think about it. And that's not including all the secondary, third-order jobs that you can imagine are probably connected in terms of communities that are able to develop and survive. In the 2020 census, there's good conventional wisdom. We expect about half the counties in Arkansas will lose people, half the counties will gain people, and the population will still go up pretty significantly, and it'll be along the waterways and in our urban areas and in communities that are dependent on the river to be able to deliver and move goods and services and sustain our businesses and our communities. So it's imperative that we think about the future, and we do that as a collective. We moved, I think, 10.3 million tons in 2020 at a value of $4.1 billion. That gives you an idea of what its potential is now. If we get it to 12-foot channel and then you add in the continued growth, we're seeing port development now in Russellville, where we've got authority to do surveys and begin construction there for our Slackwater Harbor, in addition to our 4 other ports. And now we're also looking at Fort Smith and the potential there with the Department of Commerce taking an opportunity to potentially develop Fort Smith as well into a harbor. So a lot of growth that's indicative of where we see the demographics going in the state. I'm going to tell you, Corps of Engineers, we're not faceless bureaucrats. We live here too. We have 800 folks that work in the Corps of Engineers. The vast majority of them are multi-generational Corps of Engineers. Their fathers or mothers worked in the system or worked in part of the federal government, and they live right next to you. They go to the same schools, the same churches, they're at the T-ball game. They're doing the same things right away, and it bothers them when something goes wrong on the river or when we have a disaster to fight. It's not just their livelihoods, but they care about their neighbors, they care about their community, and they care about Arkansas. So I think there's a lot of things there that I just kind of want to remind people about that. I'm one of 2 people in uniform in the Corps. The other 798 of them are civilians, okay, and they come to work every day. Both Little Rock and Tulsa districts are focused on budgeting resources and prioritizing $245 million worth of backlog maintenance that we have right now. That's the investment we need to make going forward to sustain and achieve the potential of the next 50 years out of the MKARNS and keep up with the growth and the demand that quite a few of our folks, our key leaders, are counting on in service to the public. The recently released fiscal year 2022 President's budget included $56 million for the Little Rock District and $37.6 million for the Tulsa District for MKARNS operations and maintenance projects. That's a pretty good chip up from our previous budget, and I would tell you that'll help me eat at that maintenance backlog and keep those locks and dams open and running to help industry succeed. Our future mission, along with our state, federal, and private partners, many of which are here today, thank you, is to ensure we receive another 50-year benefits, of course, from the MKARNS. And we're always going to continue to look hard at the future expansion and requirements, and we're going to continue to have to work together to solve problems as the public increases not only its business needs, but its recreational and other requirements on that river to take care of our families and our future. We also were given $149 million for a construction new start on the Three Rivers project. And that's on the lower end of the river where the White, the Arkansas, and the Mississippi converge. And we have a project there in order to kind of keep those rivers from converging in an effort to make sure we are able to sustain navigation. So pretty imperative project that we get done, particularly as we just declared an emergency in the southeast. The governor, I saw that you did that. And it's pretty critical when you start seeing numbers like 12, 15 inches of rain in Dumas, Arkansas. You open your eyes and go, man, I can't even fathom that. And to give you an example, like Lake Charles in Louisiana had 12.5 inches in one rainstorm, and their average monthly rainfall for that month was 5.5. So we're just getting very exceptional wet events that no one could have forecasted, and it goes to the adage, Mother Nature bats last, and she's doing a pretty good job right now of hitting some out of the park. We are very interested in the future projects, as I mentioned, but I just want to tell you that we're a very blessed nation. We got the Pacific Ocean, we got the Atlantic Ocean, we got the Mississippi Valley right through the middle. I mean, God couldn't have created a more wonderful nature in terms of its natural bounty. And I would tell you that between our elected leaders and their vision of where we need to go in order to get to a good place in the future, as well as our collective efforts together, working forward and communicating and making sure we're highlighting the challenges and what we need to do to succeed, I have a lot of faith that Arkansas isn't just the natural state, but an example of what's possible for future generations as we try to realize and deliver the promise that we've made to them. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll shut up and get off the stage. So, thank you.
Thank you. Colonel, thank you for those remarks, and I'm glad to know that the river still operates on leap year. Really appreciate the partnership, and we're blessed to have the Corps in Little Rock and all the work that they do, and Colonel Noe's been a tremendous partner. And, as you all know, and Colonel Noe's talking about it took a tremendous effort 50 years ago to build this and make it happen, and there's still no shortage of partners that continue to make that happen and to make it operate. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, I just want to recognize some dignitaries that are here that represent our state legislature, our congressional delegation, our Waterways Commission, a few others. But I saw Senator Jane English over here in the corner. Senator English, thank you for being with us. And Senator Mark Johnson, I saw you over here as well, representing us. Representative Collins, there in the back. I saw Representative Collins. Representative McGrew, I saw him sneak in as well. Representative Brown is right here, and Representative Ennett. Where is she? The lights are kind of blinding, but I can see you there on the side. Thank you. Any other state legislators? Yeah. Thank you all for being here and for your representation and what you do to support us in the legislature, and obviously the funds that you provide to allow us to do some of these projects are so important. And then also we have great representation in Washington D.C. I've worked in a couple states now, and I've never seen a team work so hard and together for a state as I have in Arkansas. And our congressional delegation has great representation. I know from Senator Bozeman's office we have Gene Hickenbotham here, who also happens to be a former commissioner or former director of the Waterways Commission, and Dee Dee Smith is here as well as another former director. So pleased to have representation from Senator Bozeman's office. I know Cassandra will bring you up here in just a minute to read a resolution from the Senate, but we have Vanessa Moody as well from Senator Cotton's office. I saw Hunter from Congressman Hill's office is here as well, and I believe someone from Congressman Westerman's office was going to join us right here. You're Michael?
That's me.
Thank you for joining us as well. I really appreciate the delegate. Any other from our congressional offices?
Jimmy Harris.
Yeah, Jimmy, good to see you as well. Appreciate you being here as well. And then from our Waterways Commission, Phyllis Harden is our chair. So there's Phyllis. Phyllis, thank you for coming up today. And then Cheryl Johnson. There's Cheryl, right there. Thank you for coming up. These are our commissioners appointed by the governor who serve and advise our Waterways Commission on our grants and our programs. We're appreciative of their leadership that we have. I mentioned Jean and Dee Dee, both former directors, and you're going to hear from Cassandra here in just a minute. And then also, too, I just want to recognize a couple people from the private sector who make this happen. And I saw Allison. Where'd you go? Allison, who is from Pine Bluff. She is the president and CEO of the Economic Development Alliance for Jefferson County, and is involved with the Jefferson Port and the Port Authority. Stan Hastings, over here in the corner, who is the board of directors for the Port of Little Rock. John Wycliffe, who serves on the AEDC Commission as well as the Port of Little Rock. And then was Josh Childers. There, Josh, right in front of me, who represents Bruce Oakley, Inc. So great mix of the private sector coming together to support the public sector and all the work that we're doing here. So as you can see, it takes many people, many individuals, many groups working together to keep these rivers flowing. And part of what we wanted to celebrate today, in addition to the 50 years, is thinking forward in the 50 years that we have to come in the future. So we thought it was important to engage the students, our next generation, and in our contest to learn more about the river and raise awareness of our river. So we have our art contestant winners here today, and I'm pleased to introduce Director Caldwell. Cassandra Caldwell is the director of our Waterways Commission. She's originally from Oklahoma, but we stole her away to come to Arkansas, where she has some roots, and has been now on the job since February of 2020. So about a month before COVID hit, so we've had a fun little over a year getting acclimated to our state, but is doing a great job for us. And let me turn it over to Director Caldwell for her remarks and presentation to the students.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out to celebrate this huge milestone with us today. The Arkansas Waterways Commission was established in 1967 as the sole state agency responsible for developing, promoting, and protecting waterborne transportation in Arkansas. The MKARNS is one of the 5 commercially navigable rivers in our state. The McClellan-Kerr Arkansas River Navigation System, like Colonel Noe said, cost $1.39 billion to construct. Over the last half of a century, the MKARNS has controlled the lower 400 miles of the Arkansas River, making the river suitable for navigation, generating hydropower, mitigating flood damage, supplying water, creating fish and wildlife habitats, and providing recreation for the public. Every year, more than 4,000 recreational vessels walk through MKARNS locks, and nearly 5.5 million people visit MKARNS recreation areas to enjoy fishing, boating, hiking, and camping. Recreation businesses and spending are significant to the local economies along the MKARNS. The impact of income generated from recreation in Arkansas waterway counties alone is $528 million. The MKARNS is a vital resource to the entire nation, contributing total economic impacts of $8.5 billion in sales, $289 million in taxes, over 55,000 jobs to the national economy. On average, 12 million tons of cargo, valued at over $3 billion, is shipped on the MKARNS every year. Since the system was dedicated in 1971, more than 500 million tons of goods have been shipped on this river. Cargo movement on the MKARNS is made possible through a substantial system of public and private ports. There are 5 public ports located along the McClellan-Kerr Arkansas River Navigation System. There are 2 in Oklahoma at Catoosa and Muskogee, and 3 here in Arkansas at Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Pine Bluff. Our public ports alone are home to over 125 industries and provide for more than 12,500 jobs. The benefits of navigation have a broad effect on the economy. Waterborne transportation is fuel efficient and it is environmentally friendly. 12 barges pushed by a single boat move as much cargo as 720 semi-trucks or 180 rail cars. Commercial navigation also helps keep transportation costs down. Reduce transportation costs, lower the sales prices of commodities shipped by water, creating a larger market. The growth of that market triggers additional production, more jobs, and more income. Today, the transportation cost savings sales impact is $968 million a year just for the Arkansas segment of the MKARNS. It is clear that the impact of the MKARNS has had on the Arkansas economy has far surpassed the benefits originally anticipated by its pioneers. The lives of Arkansans have been improved by the recreational facilities along the waterway, the decreased flood damages, the low-cost electricity from hydropower, the water supply, fish and wildlife habitats, the commerce moving on the river, the jobs created, the economic growth, and the tax revenue generated. The day-to-day MKARNS group includes leaders with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Coast Guard, our state agencies, the 5 public ports, the multiple private ports, terminals, and industries, and various organizations that support the waterways. I am thankful for the opportunity to serve among such excellence. But it's impossible to do this alone. It cannot go without saying how incredibly fortunate we are to have such strong allies in our governor and our congressional delegations. Governor Hutchinson and our state and federal delegations have been absolute champions of our waterways. I think I can speak for all MKARNS stakeholders when I say that we are immensely grateful for the many years of unfailing support from our elected officials. At this time, I would like to invite Projects Director for Senator Bozeman, Jean Higginbotham, up to briefly present Senate Resolution 195.
Thank you, Madam Director, Secretary, Governor. Back in May, the Senate passed a resolution, Senate Resolution 195, and since it's 7 pages long, I won't read it to you. I'll be brief. Basically, it commemorates the 50th anniversary of the MKARNS, and it talks about the history, its contributions that it's made to our state economy, and it also discusses the future. So it also talks about 3 rivers, the 12-foot channel. So I just wanted to show this to y'all and present this to the director. So thank you so much for everything you've done. Governor, Mr. Secretary, we really appreciate it. And the delegation will continue to fight for the MKARNS. And just wanted to give this presentation to you. Thank you so much.
Without further ado, I would like to present awards to our student art contest winners. We did an art contest online because of COVID. We weren't able to get out and do our educational outreach activities this year, so we had to get creative. We received 90 entries, and we have 7 winners. I'm not sure if everybody's here today, but we're going to start with our first winner. We have Sylvan Lohakari. Sylvan's from Forest Park Elementary. All right. Our first grade winner is Brandon Deaton. Is Brandon here? I guess Brandon's not here. Brandon Deaton is from Kavanaugh Elementary. Our second grade winner is Kai Benson, and I believe his teacher, his art teacher, Stephanie Kroll, is here to accept the award on his behalf. He couldn't be here. Our third grade winner is Davin May from Maumelle School District. Our 4th grade winner is Raylan Stone from Maumelle Charter School. All right, our 5th grade winner is Luke Sides. He's homeschooled. And then our final winner is 10th grade. She's in 10th grade, Natalie Brock from Bigelow High School, East End. Is she here? I guess she didn't make it. Please join me in congratulating these talented students.
All right. Thank you, Cassandra. Well done, and congratulations to all the art winners. Appreciate your interest in the river and also your artistic ability. I looked at your pictures, and everyone they're displayed out front, so you can take a look at them, and we'll get some photos in front of them afterwards. But keep up the great work. And I know we're tight on time, so I won't go in, Governor, and read your entire bio, and I'm just going to say that we're thankful to have the jobs governor, the CEO of the great state of Arkansas, Governor Asa Hutchinson.
Thanks, Mike. I add my congratulations to the art winners and students. I hope that you will let me have a picture with you when this is over. And that's exciting. And I also want to see the art, if that's hanging around anywhere. But I want to thank everybody for joining in this special celebration of the 50th anniversary of MKARNS. What an asset it is for the state of Arkansas. Director and the commissioners, Madam Chairman Hardin, for your leadership on the Waterways Commission, and so this is a special day. Now, Mike mentioned at the very beginning that he read John Berry's book on the rising tide, which I read as well, an amazing story of the flooding of the Mississippi River. And as I read that, of course I read that in preparation and knowing that we had the 2019 historic flood. I want to know how to manage a flood. But in that, it talked about the river, the Mississippi River, flooding to the extent that it flooded all the way from Greenville to Yazoo City in Mississippi. And so people were hanging on the trees and on the tops of levee that had to be rescued. And so they were looking for every fast boat they could get to go rescue them. And they said in the book that the fastest boats came from Arkansas, because we were used to running from the revenuers and so, you know, Arkansas has a lot to offer. Now, Colonel No, thank you for your leadership, and I can't forget when I think about the river, I think about the 2019 flood, and I took a helicopter ride from Little Rock all the way up along the Arkansas River into Fort Smith, looking at the floods. And I want to make a couple points there that I learned during that historic flood. First of all, I learned the critical nature of the navigation system, because whenever it was shut down for a few days from time, it hurt our economy in Arkansas not having that waterway access. It is absolutely critical. And we have to have alternative means of transportation. Whenever you look right now at the I-40 bridge from Arkansas to Tennessee being under repair, the river navigation system is even more critical than ever to get goods and products out. Secondly, it is our link globally. 42 countries we ship to and have commerce with from Arkansas across the globe because of this navigation system. So I certainly saw the critical link of it. Secondly, I saw the necessity and the combination of the river system and our levee system. And you can't have one without the other. And the levee system in Arkansas works as it does along the river. Obviously, it was challenged during that historic flood. We put $10 million of Arkansas money, thank you legislators for supporting that, to help repair our levee system. And it works today. We want to keep it in good repair. But also, we have to have a continued investment in this navigation system. It takes upkeep, it takes modernization, it takes the repair work that's necessary year by year, and the Corps does a fabulous job on that. Our delegation is here that continues to support the investment in this navigation system that is critical for our future. And so a lot of lessons learned, but the main thing is how important this is, and such a reason to celebrate 50 years of navigation, of global connections, and boosting of our economy. When you look at the future, there's one priority that I think rises above everything, and that is beyond the repairs that we need to move from a 9-foot channel to a 12-foot channel. That's how, please, go ahead, John. I saw a lead there. I want to give you time. But, you know, I worked on that when I was in Congress. That was 20 years ago. And we're still looking at that. We had to update the study, and that's a great partnership between Arkansas and Oklahoma that we're both funding the updated study that the Corps will be doing. We hope that we can continue that march forward to have the navigation system all that we expected it to be at the beginning in 1971, and that'll be in the future. Thank you for your investment and your celebration of this incredible project and navigation system for Arkansas and for our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate those remarks. And just to wrap up, we celebrate today the 50-year anniversary, but really this is about looking forward as well. And what are we going to do in 50 years from now when these students are the ones who are hosting these events and celebrating 100 years at that point? And I think the commitment that we make today going forward is going to help us get those next 50 years so we can celebrate the 100th year. It's going to be the partnership from the governor's leadership, the legislature, and our congressional delegation, our waterways commissioner, and the private sector all coming together to make it happen. So we've done a great job these 50 years. Let's not let off the gas. Let's press forward on these next 50 years. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We have refreshments out front and all the artwork, and the governor's going to do some photos with the kids. And to the media, I'm happy to answer any questions myself or Director Caldwell if you have anything for us. But thanks, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it.